I remember a few years ago when I was started with NSO. I was really impressed with NSO, to be honest. How I can automate network tasks, and I don't have to partialize, or how I have model-driven programmability with Django. That was really, really nice. Or structured data, or all the APIs that NSO provides. The only thing that I can recognize from that time when I was starting is that the learning curve was a bit high for me at that time. So what I did was, okay, what resources we have on DevNet? And let me tell you, I was not on DevNet at that time. What resources we have that can help me to get started with NSO? And that's actually what I would like to share with everybody today. What is available out there, what we offer on DevNet in collaboration with the BU. But also don't get the wrong idea that on DevNet we only have beginner content. That's not true. We also have intermediary level and advanced level. So if you have in your team new members joining and they want to get started, we have material for them. If you want to refine some concepts, we also have material for them. Or if there is something new from the BU, okay, we also have material on DevNet. So for today's session, the agenda is quite short because it's a short session. And basically what I'm going to do is to do a walkthrough, all the resources, all the sites that we have on DevNet. So to get started, let me start by sharing the first site. And this is the NSO Dev Center. And if in this session there is one bookmark that you want to save, this is the bookmark because it has links to all the other sites and all the other resources that we have on developer.cisco.com. And here on the Dev Center, basically we have an overview of NSO. So this is pretty handy when you are getting started or when somebody has a question, hey, what is NSO, what I can do with it? This is the place where you can go and you can see, okay, for example, we have learning labs that I will comment on them. We have the docs, we have community, developer days that I guess you already know what is developer days and some supports. So for example, as you can see in this case, we have some highlights. We have, for example, talking about the learning labs. We have something called also the playground, which I will also comment. But right away, we have the get started with NSO. And this is quite handy. So if folks are joining, new member joining the team, okay, this is the place where they can get started. Probably it's a developer. So if you see on this part, we have the developer part, which is quite nice. So they can get started. Okay, probably what are the APIs that NSO have? Okay, the APIs are based on my models. Okay, that's something new, right? So for developers, this is super, super handy. What if you are an operator? Okay, if you're an operator, we also have some materials. If I scroll a bit down below, we can see some interactive labs. And this is super, super nice. For example, just 10 minutes, and you can get a nice idea of the learning labs. But like I commented, this is not the only thing that we have on DevNet, right? This is the bookmark that you need to save, but it's not the only thing. So let me move. And in this case now, we are on the learning labs. And the learning labs are for many products that we have at Cisco, but it's not just what I mean, it's not just NSO, we have for many, many more. As you can see, for example, we already have some AIs, but what I want to show you is NSO. So for example, as you can see, I'm already searching. We have 17 labs. Something quite nice is that we also have modules. And basically the module is a way that we are grouping NSO labs. For example, if you are interested in Jam, we have some learning labs for Jam. We have some learning labs for XML. Probably you want to know some basics, or probably you want to know some advanced topics. But if you don't know the place to get started, something that the NSOBU came with and is quite nice are the tracks. So in this case, we only had one track. But if I go to the track in this tab, you can see right away that I have several topics. For example, to get started with NSO, or probably Jam, or probably, for example, with XML or some XML advanced. So this is quite nice. It can give you a path. And the good thing is that we are constantly working on them and we are constantly updating. So if anybody has any feedback, please let us know and we can update. But I guess you have some question how the Learning Lab looks like, right? And here I have one. And as you can see, the Learning Labs is quite nice because it is a guide where you can have some step-by-step commands that you can go and you can introduce. And the nice thing is that if you see on this bar, we have a live environment. So for example, we have some file system in this bar, but I already have some NSO. In this case, I'm working with NetSim. So I can just click, as you can see, and this will start NetSim. And then I just need to wait a bit and then I can go and start NSO. The good thing is that I have an NSO instance right away that I can test, that I can play with here on the Learning Labs. Now, this is something that we have created on Cisco and it is quite good, I will consider. But probably you are also wondering, hey, but what the community is also building, what other users are sharing. And that's something that we also have on DevNet. So that's what we call Cisco Code Exchange, where you can also find projects from all the community for many Cisco products. NSO is one of them. So to look on Cisco Code Exchange, for example, I just type NSO. And as you can see, I'm already getting some results. Now, like I commented, Code Exchange is really a directory where I can have the projects. The projects are hosted on GitHub. And that's also quite nice. If you're curious about a project, you can just click on it and then go and see the details. For example, but let's say that you are curious about a specific project, right? This looks super nice, but I want to test it. I know that sometimes just tested the code is quite challenging. I need to clone the code. I need to start my instance of NSO. Okay, maybe I need to do some changes, right? That's why we came with another environment in collaboration with Cisco Cloud ID that we call the NSO Playground. And basically, this will help me to get an environment ready with the code. So for example, if I click on this one example that I already have, that actually I created, you can see here right away, okay, I have an overview. If I click on this bar, I can go directly to GitHub. But what I want to share is what happens if I click here on Run in Cloud IDE. I already have it prepared because this is a short session. But basically what I'm going to get is an instance of NSO using a GUI very similar to VS Code. And this is super handy. And why is handy? Because I already have NSO running here. I already have a code that is cloned from a GitHub repository. So I can get testing right away. So in this case, if you are familiar with this output, you know that this is Jupyter Notebook. And I already started this playground, so I can show you. But for example, let's say I want to test this REST example that I created, this RESTCOM example, okay? I loaded this part into Python, okay? We already know that part. But now, for example, I want to see an API call to NSO. And as you can see, it's working. It's already here. And I consider this is super, super nice. Let's say that another use case that I consider this is quite useful. Let's say that you want to know a default in NSO. You can just go to the NSO playground, just click, open in your browser, and you can see an NSO instance with the defaults and you can play around. Another use case that I consider is also super nice is that right away you can go and see the NSO built-in examples, which is quite nice, to be honest. So this is a tool that is not just for Cisco to create examples. Actually, the community can create examples. They can submit their examples to Cisco Code Exchange, and then we will put their code with that environment. I consider this tool to be super, super nice. Now, but what if you want to have, I don't know, more power? Because this was just an instance of NSO, right? And we don't have real devices on the playground. So that's when we have also the DevNet sandboxes. And the sandboxes are quite nice because in this case, for example, this is specific for NSO, but we had more on DevNet. And basically on this sandbox, we are giving you 3 instances of NSO. And you can play, I don't know, with high availability scenarios in this case. The sandboxes are alive up to 5 days. So you can have an environment up to 5 days alive. And for example, we are providing a topology on CML that basically you can use to interact between NSO and the network devices. So this is quite nice. If you want to have a small lab and you don't have the resources, this is a place where you can go and you can test whatever you want to. Now, like I commented, this is a pretty small session, so this is a sneak peek, I will say. But there are some things worth that I consider is worth sharing in this case. So for example, the first thing is the chain log of NSO in the documentation. If you don't know it, go take a look, play around, see. It's quite nice, to be honest, and I really like it. The other thing that we have is the YouTube channel of NSO, where you can find sessions from past events, which I also quite like it. And from time to time, I go and watch the recording. So I consider it pretty good. And lastly, we also have the community. So if you have questions, you don't know how something works, feel free to come here, feel free to ask them. I'm quite proud that the NSOBU really pays attention to the community. So you know that you will get your answer eventually. Having said that, I think, yeah, it was a really fast session, a lot of stuff that I covered, but I guess the next thing for you is, okay, you know the resources that we had available. The next thing for you is to go and play around, test it. If there is something that you consider can be improved or there is something that we are missing, please let us know, contact us, and we will be very, very happy to implement it. Having said that, John, that's the end of my session. Let me know if there are questions or everybody, I think, is clear.
Yeah, no, we're pretty good. We really haven't had much come in terms of QA. We did have some inquiry in terms of, you know, what's the cost for DevNet and who can use it. And, you know, as we know, it's developer resources at Cisco are free and accessible by all. So just go to developer.cisco.com. So
Yeah, the good thing is, the best thing is that everything is free, so you can go and use it. So that's super, super nice.